to Pet's Life with Gym Dog, Ireland's first pet resort by Des the Vet. Managed by vets, loved by pets. Daycare, vet care, premium pet food and grooming. Visit at petslife.ie.
And it is a Pet's Life for today, Tuesday, the 22nd of October. And a very good morning to Des Grimm. How you doing, Des?
Hi, John. Great to be here.
Yeah, it's getting into the Halloween period now. I can already hear the fireworks going off and the bangers are coming out at night time as well.
They are in the Kildare town area, I must say, where I live. The bangers are out there again. So we said we'd chat about Halloween this week and next week because, as I was saying last week, we found over the years that if you have a dog with problems, anxiety in relation to fireworks and that sort of disruption that takes place around this time of year, the earlier you start them on the medications, the calming medications, the earlier you start them on these medications, the better. So a week or two out, you want to be putting the management plan and the treatment plan in place to keep your dog chilled out and happy throughout the Halloween period.
Okay. Now, I was digging deep into this. The Dogs Trust shares their survey online, and they sent it out to all radio stations just to make a note of it. And I thought it was an interesting survey that 1 dog in 3 gets really frustrated and scared during the Halloween season.
Yeah.
Which, you know, that seems low, actually. I would say nearly all dogs would be getting worried about
I think they all get bothered and disrupted a bit, yeah. Probably 1 in 3 in terms of the owner's perception of it or the impact it has on the family at the same time as the dog.
And they were also saying the fact that 68% of the respondents said that fireworks had started in their area earlier every year. So it's some of the fireworks starting as early as September, which means that dogs are getting more affected because they're hearing it.
It's going on for longer.
Yeah, so that
makes sense. Yeah, it causes dogs to spook and bolt. So there's an increased number of strays, literally dogs loose on the road. We've often said here over the last year on this show that the amount of stray dogs wandering the streets has noticeably improved, noticeably decreased from years and years ago, that there's more responsible dog ownership out there and so on. Part of the reason for that is that people who own dogs, they know that if your dog gets out on the road, the risk of accident is much higher than it used to be because the roads are so much busier. Yeah. So, like, invariably a dog wandering the roads with no road sense will get into trouble, will become, unfortunately, the victim of an accident. That's a fact. So when people see these dogs out and about, they'll pick them up, they'll bring them in. Now, less and less and less in recent years, we see stray dogs on the roads, thankfully, compared to years ago.
Oh, yeah.
But around about this time of year is when we do see it, unfortunately. Happened to us this morning in our surgery.
Right.
A lady from Monasterevin picked up 3 dogs on the footpath outside Moorabbey Woods. Okay. So down the hill from Moorabbey Woods, folks, back down towards Fitzpatrick's Garage, past Moorabbey there, probably opposite the graveyard in Monasterevin, 3 big bully dogs. Okay. Loose, running together along the footpath along the road.
Are they microchipped?
One of them was, and one of them was microchipped, the other 2 were not. This is the tragedy of it. And the microchip was registered to the breeder in County Wexford. It was 3 years out of date.
Right.
And we've talked about that too.
I know.
Haven't we often said to people, please folks, get your dogs microchipped, and please folks, do make sure that the microchips are up to date, that your own details are on the chip.
And the chances are that the 3 dogs are all part of the same family.
They are. They're similar types and they were together, so they probably did come from the same family. And no doubt they probably just got out of a backyard.
Yeah, so somebody will get on to you guys eventually, or if they're listening.
They've gone to the dog warden in the hope that the owner can track this. This is why I'm saying it on air, I suppose. The fact that they've gone to the dog warden this morning, folks. If you're a Monasterevin dog owner concerned and missing your 3 dogs, they've been brought by a good citizen to the dog warden this morning. Okay,
very much. But here's one. So even though the original chip that was on it is 3 years out of date, subsequently, would they know who they sold it to? Sometimes these breeders do know, they do remember, and sometimes they don't. Yeah. It depends how conscientious or on the ball the original breeder was as regards the records of the keeping, who did they sell the dog to? Yeah. So you do have to update these. And it's free I think there might be a nominal fee to update the microchip details, but it's only a matter of just ringing up Fido and say, hi, I'm the new owner of this dog, this number. Okay. And if they want any proof of that, your vet will countersign the initial document. Very, very easy to change them over. So, folks, what we do see at the moment is, this time of year, dogs that are frightened of noise and disruption and bangers and fireworks, they break out and they bolt and they're loose on the roads. And that's the problem. That's the problem, because they fall foul of traffic and become victims of accidents. That's the first problem. A second problem is they just get lost.
and they end up in the dog pound.
Yeah.
And if your dog, as I say in this case now, if your chip isn't up to date, are you going to be able to ever find your dog again or not?
Well, that's the thing.
It's very serious.
Yeah, that seems to be the norm. Okay, so we're concentrating on Halloween again because at the end of the day, it's only a couple of weeks away from it as well.
Yeah, now heard your doctors on the show earlier, very interesting piece about game-changing drugs. That was the terminology used by Dr. O'Shea, and I say sort of lit a little bit light bulb in my own head in terms of game-changing drugs. So a couple of game-changing drugs we've found in recent years on the doggy space for anxiety.
Okay.
And stress, and travel stress and stress of all sorts, and disruptive behaviours, problem behaviours. You asked a lot of good questions. We had a great chat last week about what sort of problem behaviours are caused by stress in dogs.
Yeah.
And we talked about the difference between tranquilizers and SSRIs.
Yeah.
Now, the SSRI, that's the new category of game-changing drug. Now, the human form, Prozac, the doggy form, Reconcile.
Yeah.
And what we can use in the lead up to Halloween, because it's more rapidly acting, there's a type of SSRI called trazodone. Doesn't sedate the dog, but lowers their anxiety levels by working on their brain's serotonin. Serotonin is a happy hormone which you get from good exercise or good socialisation. You sort of a good natural buzz. That's the serotonin hormone. And we can actually give medications to produce these happy hormones in a natural way without sedating the dogs.
Yeah.
So trazodone would be a type of an SSRI that we put these dogs on for a couple of weeks. And the ones that have the long-term problems, they can go on the Reconcile and stay on that longer term.
Okay, very good. Just on a slightly just kind of veering left a little bit. Jacinta was on saying that when she was in South Africa last year over with her sister, they said that they recommend for calming measures for their dogs herbal remedies, and they also recommend stuff along that line. Is that something that's becoming more popular in Ireland? Yeah,
it is, and it nicely segues into a chat about natural versions of calming products that we can use that sometimes work.
Right.
Maybe 50-50. It depends on the level of stress and on the situation and what the trigger is for the dog, you know. So NutriCalm is
just before you go there, are the likes of herbal remedies and stuff like that, herbalists and animal herbalists, are they used instead of medication or in addition to?
In addition to. So it is possible to use them instead of in mild cases.
Okay.
All right? But you can. There's no conflict in terms of combining an SSRI with a natural product. There's no conflict there whatsoever. They work in different ways, and they'll complement each other, and they might work well together. So, and the beauty of natural products, to be fair, in animals, dogs in particular, have a very high metabolic rate. So they metabolise and break down and digest and utilise amino acids and B vitamins very, very quickly. So you can see the benefit of these products much quicker than you would in a person.
Okay.
Now, you know yourself, everyone will share this experience that you take a multivitamin, or you take a particular, or you start having a green tea or whatever, and the back of the box says it has all of these great properties that are going to benefit your health, and you're drinking it and you're eating it and you're taking it forever, and you'd never see any fucking benefit, do you?
No.
Not really.
Not really at all.
And is it imaginary, or is it something internal that has a slight imperceivable benefit in your overall health and well-being over time, perhaps, right? As part of an overall lifestyle improvement. So that's the benefits of taking the herbal stuff if you're a person, I think. But on the other hand, I can definitely tell you that as a dog owner and as a vet, and in the effects I see on it, of these products on the average 25 kilo young canine that comes into me, these remedies work really quickly because dogs are natural creatures. They have a high metabolic rate, and good B vitamins and good amino acids can have a really potent, noticeable effect in a short space of time on a dog, much more so than if you were taking them yourself.
Okay, and with that type of stuff as well, does it vary from breed to breed what you're going to give them?
And it just varies a little according to size, I suppose, the size of the animal. There's no contraindication as such. The only thing you would take into account would be what's its baseline diet. because the baseline diet might be good enough by itself. So, for instance, if you're feeding a dog a hypoallergenic diet or a fish-based diet, for instance, or say you have a dog that is allergic to a few different byproducts and he's on a good food, he's on what we call a premium product, then that premium product might have high levels of omega-3 and omega-6 already in it. So then supplementing omega-3 and omega-6 is not going to do any good. Quite the opposite.
Right,
so,
okay.
for instance, there's two ones there, omega-3, omega-6. For all intents and purposes, they're in fish oil.
Okay.
Give too much fish oil, you're not going to do any good. All you're going to do is cause diarrhea.
That's a fair point as well, yeah.
So that's a simple thing, right? The other thing about it too then is you have the ones that are beneficial for joints. Right, MSM, methylsulfonylmethane, GAG, glycosaminoglycans, all big words, right? But they're nutraceuticals. They're amino acids that act on the cartilage and help repair cartilage and help prevent arthritis and help give older dogs that are a bit stiff a bit of extra mobility. Okay. Now, you can give too much of them, and all that's going to happen is that the liver is going to just excrete them.
Okay.
So, if you have a senior dog who's stiff and sore, and maybe your vet has prescribed a good premium diet with the glucosamine and the whole lot already in it, there may be no need to give extra glucosamine on top of it. Okay. So you have to consider these things. But if you're taking a dog from a baseline supermarket, bog standard, one size fits all packet of a mixture, which with very little extra good stuff in it, you're taking them from that baseline diet and putting them onto a better diet and a supplement, you'll see a massive improvement.
That's very interesting indeed, yeah. And do people actually take heed of these recommendations, or do you find people are still stuck in old bad habits?
Right, look, it's very variable. People are all different. And there's... premiumisation, though, there's very much a move in terms of nowadays dog owners they're more educated and they're more bonded to their dogs, and maybe they have more time, maybe they spend more time with the dog, and they do read up and they take it on as a project. So what we're seeing is there's a move towards premiumisation. So there's a move towards owners being motivated to do more and to do better, and perhaps it's part of an overall lifestyle change and attitudinal change in the way we view our own health and the way we work on our own health. So people who are very interested in their own lifestyle will invariably make sure that their dog has a good lifestyle as well. Okay, now a couple of questions coming in regarding microchipping. I'm just going to come to them first, but back to our little dog trust survey, which it says, and the recommended tips, and it goes back to what you just said a few moments ago back. Making sure your dog is always wearing a collar with at least an ID tag attached, ensuring that the microchip details are always up to date so that they can be quickly reunited should they get a fright and escape, and subsequently if they are brought to a vet, it's very easy to scan. Is it only vets who can scan them to find out, or anybody can have a scanner, or what way does it work? Yeah, the dog warden has scanners. All vet clinics have scanners. The guards have the scanners. The dog wardens have the scanners. Lots of good conscientious volunteers out there that are linked to the different local charities. They'll have scanners in their vans as well. Okay. Kieran in Kildare Town wants to know what's the price of a typical price of getting dogs microchipped. It's less than €40. Right. 35, 38 or 40, depending on where you go. And that'll include the registration. Insert the chip, make sure it's in the right place, make sure it's reading, fill in all the paperwork for you, take the paperwork off you, register it online, and make sure that process of certification is done properly. Yeah. So it's good value for €40. You have a vet, does his bit, and the administrator in the veterinary practice does their part. Okay. And when it comes... you just gave me a thumbs up there. Thanks there for Kieran. I appreciate that. When it comes generally to microchipping, what percentage are we talking about people out there with dogs? Okay, so nearly all dogs under a certain age are microchipped because it became law a number of years ago. So all the puppies that were registered on the different websites and that were sold or rehomed and went to new homes from about 5 years ago onwards, every pup that was ever up on a website has a chip. Are you talking about every dog regardless of breed or mix or whatever? Yeah, regardless of breed. Regardless of breed. Okay. Yeah, because, so back in what used to happen is if somebody's backyard pet had a litter of pups, they'd probably rehome them to the neighbours. Yeah, that makes sense. Nowadays, invariably, even the litters that are free to a good home or nominally being given away for very little, they'll still be up on a website somewhere. And in order to post a pup on a website, to try and rehome it, it'll have to have a chip.
Yeah.
So nearly every dog under about 5 has a chip. But unfortunately, half of them out there, older than 5 or 6, still don't have chips.
Right, okay, well that's just, it's just a habit really. And I suppose, look, we go further into this regarding microchip, it will become probably compulsory at some stage.
I know it is, it technically is. It's just like a lot of other laws in Ireland, unfortunately, not bloody implemented properly, not enforced.
Yeah, at the end of the day. Is it a case, though, when years ago dogs used to always roam the streets, we don't see it that often, do we?
No, because the roads are busier, you see, and owners, in fairness, dog owners are aware of that.
It's a different type of person.
Nowadays. And the other thing that's been a big help is there's a great technology there that's simple enough, and a lot of people use these radio collars.
Okay, yeah.
Radio collar is a type of a little sensor of a fence that you put along your boundary.
Yeah, I know that, yeah.
And it gives the dog a little dart if they go too close to the gate.
Yeah, they're
too
very
close
good.
to the wall.
Yeah.
And they're very effective because dogs will just stay back then from the gate.
Yeah.
So they're common. They do the trick. Radio collar can be as effective as a high wall.
Excellent, yeah. And still popular as ever. You can get them in pet stores even, I think, can you?
Pet stores, the good builders providers, and so on. So you don't see dogs wandering the road, no. To the extent that when they are out wandering the road, people notice it, and invariably they'll pick them up and they'll bring them somewhere to make sure that they don't, that they're cared for, they don't come into harm's way.
Okay. I remember years past, people didn't really fence their dogs in as kids, or pet dogs would always be with them. Although the dogs then weren't fenced, dogs were used to be free and were in a way trained not to ramble. You would see many dogs just relaxing on the doorstep of their family home for a little Johnny or a little Mary. The problem of staying or rambling arose when the females came into season, and then you would see the large packs of dogs roaming down through the streets. It was a disaster and a disastrous time for animals. That's a very fair comment, because I remember all of that.
I remember
and
that.
I also remember growing up as a child, and although our house kind of had dogs from time to time, we weren't always a doggy household, but from certain periods we did. But you'd go for a walk out into your field to play a football match on a pitch or whatever the case is, and your dog will be there with you,
the dog
chasing the ball.
Somebody's dog would turn up and chase the ball.
Yeah.
And usually they had enough road sense to make their way home again safely. I think, unfortunately, our pampered poochers nowadays are not developing road sense. That's the difficulty with it. And sure, roads are busier as well as the problem.
I always also thought that one of the best inventions ever thought when it came to dogs is, these the very long leads that a dog can walk 20 metres ahead of you. It's going off sniffing. I don't know what the leads are actually called, but I think
they're good. They're retractable leads. You give them an extra bit of space. The long leash is an important part of dog training, because you've got a little bit of control there to bring the dog back, and you can teach them recall with the long lead like that. Give them that extra bit of distance, bit of space and time. Okay, good stuff. Paul was out in, where is he? He's in Kildalkin, actually. He says, I'm originally from Kildare town. I've subsequently got 2 beautiful collie dogs at the moment. We bring them out for long walks, and they always get on fine. Absolutely no problem. Have to say, I disagree a little bit. Sometimes I do see roving dogs more often around where we are at the moment. But big built-up urban area? Yes, possibly. Possibly. Okay, fair point. A few of the housing estates in Kildare town, a little bit too. Yeah, you might just see it occasionally, but generally, okay. But the breeds seem to be well maintained. I have to say, you see loads of people walking dogs these days at night time and everything else as well. Okay, a couple of things. Top tips, Des, before we go. We're going to do this week. We're also going to do it next week. Yeah. But for people who are owners of dogs coming into Halloween, what are we saying in the build-up? It's not just about Halloween night. We're talking about prior to it as well, the first couple of days. So how do we manage that? So the herbal products, start them on them now if you have a nervous dog. Okay. And if it's been an issue over previous years, have a chat with the vet about getting onto some of the SSRI combinations. In our practice, Kildare Vet Surgery, we're doing free consults for the next couple of weeks. So in other words, we're not going to charge you to look at the dog and assess its needs and start it on an SSRI or an appropriate calming agent. So if you're worried about that, come and see us. We're not going to charge a consultation in relation to this issue. and we're going to try and get your dog onto the right meds to keep it quiet, if we can.
That's brilliant stuff.
For the next couple of weeks.
Okay, great stuff. And of course, no doubt we'll be revisiting this again the far side of the bank holiday weekend. I think we're back Wednesday next week if it's the bank holiday, are we?
Monday's the bank holiday. We'll do Wednesday, John.
Yeah, we'll do it Wednesday. Okay, right.
Very
Next
good.
Wednesday we'll be looking after you with the It's a Pets Live with Jim Dog, and you can check out more details of that. And we'll be talking more about Halloween as it approaches, with only a couple of days to go as well. We'll do that next week. Jim Des, thank you very much, sir.
Cheers, John.
It's a Pet's Life with Jim Dog, Ireland's first pet resort by Des the Vet. Managed by vets, loved by pets. Daycare, vet care, premium pet food and grooming. Visit at petslife.ie.